so much for joining us for another episode of the Early Edition brought to you by Endless Living. I am your host, Michael Barnett. Today we're going to be looking at some of the symbols and names of Europe as a whole. For the past couple of weeks, we have been focusing on the feet of iron and clay. The 10 toes of the feet are the 10 kingdoms that will make up the revived Roman Empire. You can see based on the map of the old and present area of the Roman Empire that this empire has already begun to take shape once again with the formation of the European Union, the Empire, if you want to call it that. As I mentioned previously, Satan is a counterfeit. He's an imitator. When he sees what Jesus does, he imitates him. Why? Why does he do this? Is he a copycat? Well, the Bible says in 1 John 2:18, "Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now already are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time." Jesus compares the motives of men to be that of Satan's motives. If you want to know what the Antichrist will be like, just look at the motives of sinful man. Here's an example. Have you ever noticed how competitive young people are? Really, most humans are, but specifically, have you noticed that a child will build something and another child will build the same thing? Well, what you're seeing is an imitation, but with a motive of, I can do that too, and I can do that better than you can. This is why the world is so competitive. This is why professional basketball players cut down the system that made them rich. They see that some of their buddies are making more money than they are, and so they attack the system for not paying them more. So the imitation game is not so much trying to be like someone else as much as trying to be better than someone else. It's a natural tendency by natural man. And Jesus said, "Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do," in John 8:44. You can see the devil's fingerprints all over the European Union. Take the stars of the EU flag, for example. If you talk to anyone from the European Union and you ask them what the stars of the EU flag mean, you might get a few different various things, but generally it'll be based on the unity of the nations. In fact, when the flag was first designed, the European Council described the flag like this back in 1955. "Against the blue sky of the Western world, the stars symbolize the peoples of Europe. In a form of a circle, a sign of union. Their number is invariably, unchangeably, 12. The figure 12 being the symbol of perfection and entirety." Really sounds lovely. Where do they get this idea from, this number 12? This number 12 being perfection. 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 on the face of a clock, 12 months in the year. This flag originally had 15 stars based on the 15 founders of the council listed here on this picture. But because there was hope that others would join this council, the 15 stars were changed to an invariable, unchangeable 12 as a symbol of perfection, as I mentioned already, and unity. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The continent of Europe got its name in the 9th century AD based on an ancient mythological story about a princess of Argive, which is within the country of Greece. The princess' name is Europa. In the ancient myth, which is in Homer's Iliad, Europa is kidnapped by Zeus, who is in the form of a bull or a beast. He takes her away into the sea. Because of this story, we have images like these all over Europe. Some of you already know where I'm going with this one. While Daniel envisioned a beast having 10 horns with a little horn arising to subdue 3 horns of those horns under his dominion, the Apostle John envisions a beast having 7 heads and 10 horns, with a harlot or a woman of the night riding the beast's back, just like Europa. The 7 heads don't seem to fit the description of this beast we find in antiquity, like the beast back in the Old Testament. We really don't even see the harlot in the Old Testament. But it's until we discover that Revelation describes the 7 heads as being 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. These 7 mountains are extremely historic. They are all within the capital of Italy, Rome. Yes, the ancient center of the Roman Empire. Is Italy a part of the EU, the European Union? Yes. Historically, these 7 hills are the genesis of the future Roman Empire. Romulus and Remus founded the city of Rome on the Palatine Hill. Remember that name, Palatine Hill. On the other 6 hills were settlements that were not grouped, but as they began to interact, they began to bond and form a nucleus for what would later become the Roman Empire. You'll find these hills mentioned by Edward Gibbon's History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Huge set of volume books about the decline and fall. I mean, it's just the decline, but a huge number of volumes all about this. But Cicero, a Roman statesman in the last century BC, mentions these hills in his works, as well along with many others. These hills are the beating heart of Rome. They say that once a child is conceived, the first organ that begins to form is the heart. And these hills were the origin, the heart of the Roman Empire. The Palatine Hill being the first. What's amazing to me are the other statues of Europa that we see holding the 12 stars of the European Union. There are some who will, as many will say in Europe, be mistaken for calling the woman with the 12 stars the Virgin Mary, or the 12 stars of the EU flag being the same ring of stars around the woman's head in Revelation 12. Well, I mean, I think that they're probably right because they look quite immodest in some of those other pictures, not much like a Virgin Mary. But it seems terribly similar to me. But the EU denies this all day long. Another artifact that takes on the same description of Revelation is the treaty that would establish the European Union, the Maastricht Treaty of 1993. Another treaty to note would be the 1951 Treaty of Paris that established the European Economic Community. You might be asking, are you trying to say that this is the book with the seals in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 1? Not hardly. What I'm trying to say is that the Antichrist will arise from this very place out of which these strange seeming imitations, counterfeits are manifesting themselves. The Antichrist will be embodied by Satan, who has long sought for the day when all the world would give glory to him. What I see here is great confusion. I used to think, well, this is because it's Catholic, but they don't even recognize that. All of these artifacts and pieces of antiquity will be used to make the prophetic accounts recorded tools for the prophet, the false prophet of Israel, to point to the Antichrist and say, here's Jesus right here. It is for the purpose of confusing people into believing the lie. But as I said, Satan is an imitator. He's going to show the world that the prophets were prophesying about him. Europa is recorded by Ovid in his poem about Europa as the virgin. You remember how I used Isaiah a couple episodes back? Behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son. All right. In Ovid, a virgin is mentioned. Europa is the virgin, and I quote, and gradually she lost her fear, and he offered his breast for her virgin caresses. Yeah, I'll do us a favor and stop there, right? I just wanted you to notice that she is called a virgin because the Antichrist will come out of the virgin. You don't believe me that the EU is the beginnings of the revived Roman Empire? Consider the EU Parliament building. The shape, it's found, by the way, it's in France, but the shape looks strikingly similar to the Colosseum in Rome. Hey, by the way, which hill is the Colosseum built on? The Palatine Hill, the earliest settlement of the ancient Roman Empire by Romulus and Remus. But all of these things are strangely paralleled to the Bible. Yet the government of Europe vehemently continues to deny these claims. There is strange spiritual activity going on over there. Next week, we will continue what I've been talking about today by covering the person of the false prophet, who will identify the Antichrist as the Messiah. What is his role in all of this? He will take these strange similarities and use them to defend his claims and arguments that Antichrist, whoever he is indeed the long-awaited Messiah by the Jews. They're all waiting for him right now. And to prove that he is indeed the Messiah, the Antichrist will establish a covenant of peace with Israel. So next week, we will shift our focus from the European world to what is happening today in Jerusalem and compare it to what is going on in the Bible. See you next time.